Fat Horse's Bedtime Stories for Impressionable Young Colts and Fillies. Chapter 3, Beauty and the Beast.
Kids, your uncle's had a tough day. I can't take one more minute of screaming. It's bad enough I have to hear it at work.
Uncle Bad Horse, can we play a game?
A game? That's a great idea. Let me see what's on. Grab me a beer from the...
We want to play a game. We want to play a game.
Ow! What are you doing? Not the tail, not the tail. Let go of my... Damn it. I have no idea how that got in there.
Is that a tail extension?
No, it's not a tail extension. Why would I need
Keep
it?
away.
Give me that.
Uncle has a tail extension.
Keep your voice down, you little... Okay, I'll play a game.
Yay!
I got a great game. The best. It's called Dragon. I'm the dragon, see? And this box of toys over here is my treasure. So the dragon lies down on this sofa here like this, see? And it's sleeping. And you gotta sneak past the dragon without waking it and steal all its treasure, one piece at a time. I'm going to sleep now, so just sneak past on your toes, real quiet. Yeah, that's... Ow! Oh, kid, you are pushing your luck. Did I ever tell you about your little brother, the one you don't have no more?
Tell us a story. Yeah, story.
No.
Please.
No, I don't think I should tell you a story or anything else. You're dangerous enough already.
Then can we play with your tail extension?
It's not a tail extension. I'm gonna tell you a story now, aren't I?
Uh-huh.
Clever little bastards. Okay, what do you want to hear? The bear skin? How the bear lost his tail?
No bears.
What? I like stories with bears.
The singing tortoise.
I don't know that one.
The magic quill.
No, I don't know that one either.
The stinky cheese man.
Now you're making stuff up. The Stinky Cheese Man is not a story.
What about Beauty and the Beast?
Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah.
Oh boy, do I know that one. Once upon a time, see, there was this stallion who fell in love with a beautiful mare. If you could have just seen her walk into a room, the way she swayed her hips should have been a crime. I don't mean some winky, low-class, burly Q come hither. I mean she'd glide. Every piece of her added something to it. Her hooves rolled around her ankles rolled around her gams rolled around her hips, and her hips just rolled around and around, while her tail did slinky figure eights behind her. Waves on top of waves, none of them ever stopping or slowing down. Just sliding, curving back, coming around again, made every pony else look like puppets jerking on strings.
Are you sure this is the right story?
Sure, that's the story. Don't tell me I don't know the story. Every stallion knows this story, sooner or later. But you should have seen her smile, kids, like she had stars inside her. Do not ever tell any pony I said that.
We want a different story.
No,
Yeah.
no, you're not getting another story. You can't prove a thing. You ever walk outside on a cold night under a full moon? Every pony scuttles by in a trance, hunched over cold, staring at their own breath, hoof clops bouncing off the brownstone, maybe some horns honking, maybe a drunk eyeing you from a doorway, and you're wondering if you should roll him before he rolls you. Maybe you step in something nasty leaking from a dumpster again. Maybe some dames leaning out the window, shouting for the world to hear at some mumble-faced guy down the street. And then you look up, and hanging in the gap between two apartment buildings is the moon, perfect and ghostly and shimmering. You know it's from another world, but it's like you could reach out and touch it. Now, imagine it was right there on the street with you, but you still couldn't touch it. You could only look. Maybe lean in a little, catch a whiff of its perfume. It'd drive you crazy, right? Better the moon should stay in the sky, kids, and better that stallion had gone home and had a cold shower. But he was a fool. When she turned his way and smiled, he smiled right back and stepped up to her, like he thought he could get inside her to where all those stars were. And then he looked into her eyes, and he felt the shape of her through the heat and pressure of the air. And he was lost, kids. Lost.
He sounds like a big stupid face.
No.
Yeah.
No, he is not a big stupid face. Did you at least get what I said about the moon?
No, afraid not.
Look, say it's the night before Nightmare Night, and there's not a candy in the house. Not even one of those lousy, waxy candy corns. You know there's bags and bags of it all around you, stashed away in secret, but you can't have any. Oh, so the moon and the stars and all is dumb, but candy you understand. Pearls before swine, I tell you. Now, I don't want you thinking the way a stallion feels about a mare is the same as a colt or a filly feels about a bag of candy. It's more like... close enough. But he really wants that candy. It's the only candy in the world for him all of a sudden. If he can just get that candy, nothing else will matter. Only it ain't candy, it's a metaphor.
What does metaphor mean?
What it means is she ain't really candy, okay?
Do you have any candy?
No, I don't got no candy. So we took her out to parties and such. Fancy ones, where old stallions with monocles told stories, and old mares in dresses and too many frills laughed at them like they were funny. Wild hay burners, where zebras played crazy music in basements while every pony danced. If she said she liked the sound of water, he'd take her on a riverboat cruise. If she said the moon was beautiful, he'd get a magic lasso and haul it down out of the sky for her. Turns out there's a law against that. Who knew? Now the amazing thing, kids, is that it turned out this mare, she loved candy too. I mean, of course she did. Every pony likes candy. But it seemed like a miracle, and she wanted his candy.
She wanted to eat his candy.
No, I told you, it's a metaphor.
What does that mean?
What it means is she liked them. Oh, would it be easy to sneer and say she liked the parties and the pearls. But I think she really liked them. They lit up the night together. And one day, he finally did get inside her and see all those stars.
What does that...
Also a metaphor, Ashimata.
Okay.
So the two of them, they got hitched, and she moved into his place. They laughed a lot, smiled at each other a lot, and did a lot of other things. It was great. Pretty soon some foals came along, fuzzy and cute. Happy ending, right? But the more they were together, the more the things she liked about him before, she didn't like no more. Before, she liked that he laughed too loud. That he could pick her up and swing her around in the air when they danced. That other ponies moved aside when he walked down the street and didn't take no guff from no one or care what any pony thought. But now it was, keep your voice down, don't be such a hood, don't burp, wipe off your hooves, pick your clothes off the floor. I ask you, kids, can a pony be the kind of stallion who cuts his own path through life? If he can't even fart in his own home? If he's worried about whether his dirty socks are in the dark pile or the light pile? No, he can't.
Did you say fart?
Yeah, I said fart. That's not the important point here, kids. That's pretty good. But to really make it drip, you gotta use your pits like this. Yeah, see? Your uncle knows what he's talking about. Now working that all day tomorrow for me, and I'll come by later and see what you got, okay?
Okay.
Anyway, the mare, she couldn't be happy. She'd stand there watching him like she wanted to say something. And he'd say, so what is it? And she'd say, nothing. And he'd go back to whatever he was doing. And then she'd suddenly burst out with, we never go out anymore. Like he was gonna keep buying her things and taking her places forever. What did she think he married her for, am I right? She knew how the game went. And like they had time for parties or riverboats anymore. She was busy with the foals, and he was working late every night, trying to put hay on the table. He'd come home after a hard day, just wanting to sit down, have a square meal, and rest his 4 hooves. And she'd kinda hover over him, and if he wasn't quick with a word about how tender the carrots were, or how crunchy the hay was, she'd say, you don't appreciate how hard I work for you. Which was ironic, what with him being just home from busting his balls all day for her.
Busting his balls?
That's your mother. Then she'd want to talk. Like he hasn't had enough talk all day. She'd say, I've been alone with the foals all day, and you come in here and don't speak a word, and sit down with your nose glued to the front of that tube like some dumb animal. Like she's been waiting all day, but now she can't just wait till the end of the quarter. Then she'd stand almost between him and the set and glare at him while he watched. Maybe lean in front of him right when there was a fumble or a breakaway pass. Like a cat knows how to sit on the paper just when you're reading something good. So sometimes he'd stay a little later at the bar to watch the game. Catch up with his pals, like guys do. Nothing wrong with that. A fella needs a break sometime. Then he'd head home with a smile on his face. Not 4 sheets to the wind or anything, just a little warm glow from the bar, and she'd be waiting for him. And I don't mean waiting the way that makes a stallion happy. "We need to talk," she'd say, "about a relationship." "We don't got a relationship," he'd say. "We're married." And then she'd start crying and blowing her nose into her fancy monogrammed silk hoofkerchiefs he bought for her. Damned expensive things for a little shred of cloth you fill with your snot and stuff in your pocket, if you ask me. "You never tell me I'm beautiful anymore," she'd sob, while she's standing there in some frumpy sweater, glaring out from under the mane that looks like a rat's nest. I mean, she started to let herself go, kids. And he'd try to do his duty anyway, get a little sugar from her. But the store was closed. Or she'd say, "You never buy me pearls anymore." "What's wrong with the pearls I got you before?" he'd say. "Did they go bad? Did they invent some new pearl stringing technology?" And she wouldn't answer. Then she'd pull out the big guns. "You just don't understand." And kids, he didn't. He didn't have a clue why everything had gone wrong. She'd said she wanted to settle down, and he'd settled down for her. Now he had a good job, a couple of decent kids, a comfortable armchair, and some point to snuggle at night without having to go tear up the town first. But it wasn't enough for her. He just didn't get it. He didn't get it until the day he came home after 1 or 2 or 3 rounds at the bar, and the house was empty, and there was nothing on the table except an empty wine bottle and a vase with a couple flowers. He didn't think much of it, just took off his shirt and sat down in front of the TV, chewing on the flowers, spitting the stems out onto the floor, until he heard angry stomping, and she came down the stairs, wearing a red dress and a snarl, and he remembered the kids were at a mother's because it was their anniversary. She must have done herself up earlier, but her makeup was running down her face and smeared all around her eyes and in her mane, like she'd been crying and rubbing her eyes. The dress didn't fit her no more, and she spilled out of it at both ends, like a tube of toothpaste you'd squeezed in the middle. She clomped over to him, leaned right over into his face, and brayed. She called him stupid and crude, and other things I can't tell you till you're older. She said she was gonna leave and take the kids with her. Her lips twitched and twisted, all out of shape, like rubber bands, spraying them each time she spoke, and her breath stank. She was plastered good, kids. Meanwhile, he's standing there, looking around the house. It already seems empty, like it was before she came. She screamed at the top of her lungs, but he couldn't hear no more. It's like when you planned a job for weeks. You think you know how everything's gonna go, and you bust in through the door, and the walls painted green instead of white. Everything slows down a while. You stare at that green paint, trying to figure out where you are and how you got there. Then she leans into him, grabs his mane, blows a nose into his chest, mumbles something, and passes out. And that moment, kids, was when he realized what had happened. The beautiful mare he'd married had turned into a horrible beast. And that's the story of Beauty and the Beast.
How does the story end?
How does the story end? Ha! It never ends, kids. It never ends.